When you're under 90 days from Major League Baseball's amateur draft and your perfect game, it's time for an update. Hi there, folks. My name is Daron Sutton. And if you visit perfectgame.org or this network regularly, until the middle of July, you will see the best coverage of the MLB amateur draft really anywhere. And we're proud of it. It's our scouts. It's our directors of tournaments. It's those that put together the events. But more than anything, it's the people that have seen the players since they were 13 and 14 years old, now about to realize their dreams. The big board is out. If you visit perfectgame.org, you can dive deep into the draft. Where are your favorite players really projected to go? Where do you see your players standing in high school or college? If you're a family member, if you're a coach, if you've touched that life, it's an exciting time. With that in mind, let's bring in national cross-checker Brian Sakowski on this PG update. Hey, Brian, man, this is the time of year. It never stops for you. You're 24/7, 365. But kind of now going forward, it all changes for you and your team, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's an annual thing. Right around now, we push a new update. We do one in the winter heading into the season, and then we kind of let the dust settle for a couple months, get into the college season, let the high schools in all parts of the country start playing, and then we start redoing it. And it's a fluid process that takes place throughout the year. There's 4 or 5 different updates that we'll push throughout the course of a year, and every time you get a little smarter than the one that you did before. But yeah, it's that time of year, man. We're under 3 months out. We did a top 400. I think the class is starting to kind of clarify itself a little bit. And it looks like a good one. It looks like a good one.
Right out of the gates, I want to say before Brian dives into the players that you need to visit Perfect Game TV along with perfectgame.org, and especially the app on Perfect Game TV, because Brian and his team are constantly uploading scouting video, seeing these players play. That's been a big separator. So with that in mind, let's talk about 2 big separators that have always been kind of tied hip to hip, if you will. And it's at the very top of the draft. When you talk about Max Clark, who's a talented athlete and a gifted outfielder out of Indiana, and then also Walker Jenkins. They've been 1, they've been 2, they've been 1, they've been 2. He's out of North Carolina. Quick update on both, please.
Yeah, and I think I don't want to speak to this because I might not be right, but I'm pretty sure they've both been in the top 5 since we started ranking the 23s way back in the day. So talk about some staying power there. But yeah, it's 1A, 1B, depending on your perspective. We have Jenkins ahead simply because of the power projection. That's literally the only separator. Both are center fielders. Clark has a better chance to stay there. Clark is a better runner. Jenkins has more of that left-handed power. It's a really fun compare-contrast, and I think that both are potential top 5 picks. We have them ranked as such. Jenkins at 4 and Clark at 5. But Jenkins has been really good all spring, hitting for lots of power, looks like an athlete, he looks healthy, he looks great. And Clark is kind of just getting going, but I'm going to make a trip to Indianapolis to see him next week.
Yeah, excited to see your clips, your write-ups from that. Let's talk about a couple of pitchers that have moved to kind of that side-by-side position. Left-hander Thomas White from Massachusetts, Noble Meyers from Oregon. Meyer flexed at the NHSI against Calvary Christian. He was incredible in front of kind of a global audience, if you will. Latest on those 2.
Both have been outstanding, and that's a little bit different than the two prep outfielders we just talked about. White was the first number 1 in the class, I think, but Noble Meyer is someone who we really kind of just started seeing this level of good from a year ago. So it's 2 different guys like that, but they've both been outstanding. You mentioned Myers started at NHSI, 97, 98, held the velo, the slider's a 7, the curveball's a 6. He does it easy, it's whippy, it's loose, it's kind of everything you want a prep righty to look like. And then conversely, Thomas White kind of looks like exactly what you want a prep lefty to look like. Very controlled delivery, the breaking balls really come on. The changeup, which was kind of an afterthought a year ago, is now a plus pitch. He's throwing harder, he's throwing a ton of strikes. They both look fantastic, and I think both are pretty easily first-rounders.
So let's really focus on that big board, if you will, per se, and talk about the 3 college athletes that we see at the very top. And let's pair the 2 LSU stars together. We knew Dylan Cruz when he was a PG All-American. We've learned about Paul Skeens with his commitment to our country coming from Air Force and transferring to LSU. But let's start with Dylan Cruz, because it's somewhat laughable. It's somewhat laughable what he has been able to do offensively. It's college, it's the SEC. I'll back end your thoughts with the numbers, but I'd love to know what the scouts are saying about them.
He's the guy. Like that's really the summation of it. He's that guy this year, and we've kind of known that. This was a guy who played in the Select Fest, so we've had Dylan Cruz on our eyes for almost a decade at this point now. But yeah, he's hitting ridiculous in the SEC. The data backs all that up. He hits the ball harder and more consistently than anybody else. He's going to play center field. It's just a professional game. And a lot like Zach Neto, who's already in the show after being a first-rounder last year, it would not surprise me if Dylan Cruz is a guy who's going to be in the big leagues very, very soon.
35 games as we record this. There will be more games played. He's reached base 105 times in 35 games. Hits, walks, being hit by pitch. His K rate is 9%. His walk rate is 24%. I don't even know where to go. The numbers are ridiculous until I move to Paul Skeens. Then I see his teammate. They faced one another. Cruz has homered off him, all that fun stuff in the past. But I see Paul Skeens, right-handed, almost exclusively now, just a pitcher only, deservedly so, at LSU. What are they saying about him? What are you saying about him?
Yeah, what a job Wes Johnson's done. The pitching coach at LSU, obviously Jay Johnson came and got him from the Minnesota Twins, where he was a big league pitching coach. So I think you make the argument he's probably the best one that's out there, that exists. What he's done with Skeens has been transformative. Skeens kind of was the stats that you've read off and the stats that you will read off, that's not a fluke. Like, that's who he is. He's that guy. So I think he'll be a pick 2 or 3 probably right now at this point.
Thank you, Brian, for letting me read some of these stats. His walk rate is 4. His walk rate is 4%. His K rate is 52%. We talk about great hitters. Hey, he's slugging 500. This hitter's slugging 500. Opponents are slugging 209 against him. Amazing, incredible. We talk about that other guy in Florida who goes by the name of Caglianone, and then there's Wyatt Langford. He is draft eligible. He's right there at the University of Florida. His numbers are crazy too. He's number 2 on your big board. Why?
So he's missed a little bit of time this spring, but is back now healthy. It wasn't a long-term concern type of injury. But yeah, it's a little bit more explosive twitch than Cruz. If you want to look at those two side by side, Langford's capable of turning in plus run times down the line. Center fielder, just like Cruz, but the exit velocities are off the charts. It's a guy who we think can hit 30-plus home runs at the big league level. He's doing it with a good approach. He's doing it with a lot of contact. And like you said, like we've shown, we have him at number 2. We think that between Cruz and Skeens, like that's how the board will go right now.
Many people, when you come to a segment like this, and it's no offense to those that we've seen for a long time, or when you get a little bit of prospect fatigue, I learned that word years ago from you guys. Everyone gets excited about the movers. Who's taken this kind of winter time and then senior year to move on a board like you put together, which has a ton of credibility? If you don't mind, I'd love to touch on some of the guys. You suggested them. I researched them. Let's start with Walker Martin. He's the number 1 overall player in Colorado, a middle infielder. His numbers are incredible. We'll back it up, but he's an Arkansas commit. Why has he moved?
So he's a absolutely dynamic athlete, number 1. This is a guy who kind of is breaking records as far as athletic testing goes in terms of the twitch and just, like I said, the general explosiveness that he has in his body. Left-handed hitter, plus bat speed. There's huge power there. The athleticism allows us to think that he might still have a chance to play short in spite of being a bigger dude. If he doesn't, third base is probably in the cards. Like you said, I think he's hit 10 bombs already this spring, and they've maybe played 11 games or something like that. So I think he's comfortably in the first round now, but it's the athleticism plus that left-handed power. Those are the 2 real rocketers of this stock.
At Eaton High School, they've won all their games that they played to start, as Brian said. His start with a bat in his hands. If you're into counting stats, let's try this. 22 for his first 32. And as Brian said, nearly half of those have been home runs. Walker Martin. Then there's Sammy Stafura, the number 1 player in New York and a top 15 middle infielder in the country as you guys rank him. This is another one who's done great things. He's a Walter Panis High School. Sammy is a Clemson commit.
Yeah, and this kind of started in the fall. He looked really, really good in Jupiter. And this is a guy we've known about. It's not like he really just kind of came onto the radar in the fall or anything like that. But it took a step forward there. The bat speed looked a little bit better. He looked a little bit smoother athletically in the middle infield. The hands looked good. Just some small little improvements that when you magnify them over the course of how many there are and what that means to the tools, it creates the potential for a helium guy. And that's what we have this spring. And it's still early on in upstate New York as far as, or mid-New York, excuse me, as far as baseball being played, but he looks great in the early going. The scouts are raving. There's directors flying in to see him. He's a big athlete. There's a lot of plus tools on the card. Just another one of those guys who we believed in, we bought, and it's easy to see why he's shot up the board.
Starting to warm up in Mohegan Lake, New York. Brian always summers up there when he takes his summer vacation up there right on Mohegan Lake. By the way, his number's 15 for his first 25 to open the season at Walter Panis High School. So we've known Adrien Santana. You've helped us get to know him. He's a perfect game All-American, yet he continues to rise. Some crazy metrics at National last year, like a 6'1", 60. What is he doing currently that has you opening your eyes even more?
It's the power. The short answer is the power. He's hitting for more power this spring. And this is a guy, like you said, Sutton, well on the radar, PG All-American. We've always known he's a tremendous defender at short. We've always known he could really, really run. He makes contact from both sides of the plate. But now that he's hitting home runs, and now that instead of, his bat mostly being singles and doubles, there's some extra base juice in there, combined with the fact that he's a little bit younger for the grade, the athleticism, the defense, the contact, now it's more of a 5-tool player instead of that 4-tool player, something like that we talked about. And he's seeing his stock rise in a big way as a result.
He's a Miami commit. Again, his first 21 games, Brian talked about the power, 9 home runs in his first 21 games. It's almost as if the Naylor name has become Canadian baseball royalty, understandably so, with Josh and Noah Bowe, with what they have done going to the big leagues, the leadership. And because of that, Miles, followed suit. But he's a very different kind of player. He's not a catcher. He's not a big hulking corner infielder or outfielder. This is an athletic middle infielder. What this spring or even in the fall into the spring has he done to rise?
So it's with the Canadian guys, it's a little different in the spring. As we know, they don't necessarily play high school baseball. They play their club ball. They do a lot of travel depending on the org. And Naylor with the Ontario Blue Jays, they go on a big spring trip every year. Play minor league teams, play college teams in the early going. Whatever it is, it's a cool thing. It's for the purpose of getting their guys recruited and getting their guys scouted. But Naylor's been outstanding. And like you said, he's a very different player than his brothers. He is not a corner guy, maybe a third baseman long term, but plays shortstop right now. He's a right-handed hitter, not a lefty. The exit velocity and the testing data of the bat have been really loud in the early goings. He's done some workouts with teams. Those things are kind of shooting him up the board. And when I talk to my friends in Canada, it's, hey man, you can't put him high enough. Like, this guy's going to go really good. This guy's going to get paid. He's going to be in pro ball. It's the next big league Naylor by the looks of it. And I'd have to imagine that Cleveland, even if they don't draft him, will eventually try to acquire him. They need all 3, I think.
Please say hello to your friends in Canada for me. I know you summer up there as well when you take your lengthy breaks during the summertime. So, Blake Walters, do we just talk about him as a pitcher? This is where you'll educate me. This is where I'll expose myself. I read up on these guys when Brian shares them with me. I only say, do we talk about him as a pitcher only because his offensive stats are a joke this year as well. But you tell me what we talk about him. I do know he's an Arizona commit, and he's got your attention.
Yeah, and it's for the draft. It's as a pitcher. I think that he's got some offensive ability that if you were to go to college, maybe you could explore that. But right now, as far as the draft, we're talking about him as a pitcher. And this is a guy who, again, another one of those risers. We liked him last summer, came to the National, looked good. But now it's 97, 99 early in starts with a plus breaking ball, and he's physical and has a presence and throwing strikes. And the velocity tapers off as you'd expect it to throughout the course of the start. That's not like a negative or anything, but blowing mid upper 90s with an improved breaking ball and throwing strikes in a cold weather state. It's just kind of getting going. He's maybe had 3 or 4 starts at this point. He's a guy with an up arrow next to his name, a big one.
So I'm going to speak a little bit off script. The teleprompter's down. The credibility of Perfect Game matters, and the scouting that you guys do matters. I recently had a chance to sit down with Mookie Betts, who played PG a little bit more than a decade ago and didn't get as high of a ranking, probably because he wasn't seen as much. It was a smaller company. To me, the growth of PG, what you guys have done is where a player like Grant Gray speaks to the credibility, because he hasn't done a ton of PG, if at all. He speaks to the credibility and the pride you guys take in scouting out west, back east, up north. So tell us about Grant Gray, because again, he hasn't been to 20 showcases. He hasn't played at 1 million tournaments, yet you guys have your eye on him.
Yeah, and it's, you know, when it comes down to it, Sut, the most important thing for me is being right. Is having the right players, you know, regardless of whether they've played in our stuff or if I've seen them or whatever it is. I want to be right. I want to reflect the best I can when it comes to this stuff. And Gray is a guy whose name has gotten a ton of buzz out in California. We've been hearing that for over a month now. Our scouts in California are all over it. The Steve Fiorindo and Steve Doherty, so shouts out to them. But he's a very rare athlete. He's considered the best pure athlete in SoCal, in a good SoCal class, as we know. But we don't know if he's going to be a center fielder or a shortstop or a second baseman. It doesn't really matter because the athleticism is so good that we know he's going to stay in the middle of the diamond long term. There's impact bat speed. The body says that he's going to grow into some more power as he continues to come along, and he's hit for some power this spring as well. He's a really good runner. It's just the makings of a really, really talented player who plays in the middle of the field are there, and scouts are taking notice, and we've been told, hey, right now, second, third round, maybe it might shoot up higher than that as we continue along this spring. But yeah, Grant Gray's a guy who's making a lot of noise and looks great.
Thanks for letting me rant. I'm just proud of what you guys do and what you guys have built. You make our job easy. He's a UCLA commit, by the way. John Savage is where he's heading. And he's from Norco, California, which is like 45 minutes from Corona Del Mar, another spot where Brian summers a lot when he takes the extensive time off during the summertime. Josh Noth, PG All-American, spin doctor. That's the best way I like to call him. But again, he's had a chance to grab the baseball some. He's an Ole Miss commit here in the spring. How is he growing?
This is actually the most like time-sensitive guy I gave you, because it was literally just yesterday that he had one of the loudest starts of the spring of anybody, from what I understand. Up to 98, pitched at 94, 96 in there. Both breaking balls, like you said, so he's a spin doctor. He's a spin monster. He's a guy who can really, really impart spin onto the baseball, as we talked about. Both a curveball and slider, both of them are plus. Both of them are nasty. Both of them draw oohs and ahs from behind the plate with that new velocity, and he's a good athlete, good mover. We put him somewhere in the 70s, if I'm remembering right, on the draft board, and it's a guy who has an up arrow next to his name beyond that, because that was his second start or something like that up north. So as he continues to move on, as more scouts go in and see him, as he continues to show the improvements in velocity and stuff, that's a guy who might sneak towards the back end of the first round.
So we won't hold you to it. And again, teleprompter's down, so I'm just making this up. We won't hold you to it, but kind of the content release. Will you guys have a mock draft at some point soon? What are you guys planning? Again, keep it casual. We won't pin you down to it, but what's coming up in the next month or two?
So today, actually, as we record this on Tuesday the 18th, there will be a collaborative mock draft. We had 15 of our scouts each draft for 2 teams. We went 1 through 70. They picked who they wanted to pick. They played GM. So that's a cool piece of content we do every year. That'll be on the website today. That's not us projecting what we think the draft is going to look like. That's very much just a fun exercise. Next week, however, Vinny and I will actually sit down and do our first, this is how we think it could go type of mock draft. So keep your eyes out for that. Next week, all 400 reports on the top 400 are going to roll out. So tons of stuff to read there. And then we will just continue along, man. We're not too far away now.
Thanks for your insights, man. Thanks for busting your hump and introducing us to all these great players, allowing us to tell stories of them because of what you guys see. And again, by the way, for all of you, Brian never takes a single day off in the summer. That's the sad part about his schedule. Man, thanks again. We look forward to having you back in here for another update soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Sutton.
Under 90 days to Major League Baseball's amateur draft, this is the place, perfectgame.org and Perfect Game TV, where you learn about these athletes, what these teams may be thinking, and what these athletes are doing on a day-to-day. Until next time, I'm Daron Sutton. This is a fun gig, and we love being around these athletes. Thanks for stopping by.